Facebook we started, but I forgot to press the button on YouTube, so we'll just begin again. Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gauda Chandraya Radhikaya Tiralaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Caitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Shwapadantikam Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahaja Virupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe. Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartino Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Tutikatamba Satipita Sadakritare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantamana Petyam Apetya Krityam Dvaipaino viraha katara juhava putreti tam matayo tarvopanos tam sarvabhutam hridim munmanatoshmi bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay shiptascha karmadi tarangamadye kripamai tvam sharanam prapana prinde namaste charanaravindam bhajami radham aravinda netram Smarami radham madhurashmitasyam Vadami radham karuna baradram Tato mamanasti katena karpi Tavaivasmi najivami tvaivina Iti vignaya radhe tvam layamam charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandava pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev Adi-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved Adi-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarzara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami and all our divine Rupanuga Guru Varg and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vansha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhuvevacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So on Tuesday we were describing the pastime of the Brahmana who Mahaprabhu revealed his full form to, his 8-armed form. 2 hands were taking yogurt, 2 hands were playing the flute, and then Gada, conch, club, disc, and Padma, lotus, were in the other hands. So this was an 8-armed form that the Brahmana saw, and he was ordered not to divulge this to anybody. So he didn't. But he would come regularly, daily, to view and see with great astonishment the pastimes of young Nimai in Navadvip. And then also we heard about the thieves trying to steal Nimai for his jewels, but how he became, they became illusioned. And now we're up to text 39. 39. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Vyadi Chale Jagadisha Hiranya Sandane Vishnu Navya Kaila Ekadashi Dine. Translation. Pretending to be sick, the Lord asked for some food from the house of Hiranya and Jagadish on the Ekadashi day. The Caitanya Bhagavat Adi Kan chapter 6 fully describes the Lord accepting Vishnu Prasadam on the Ekadashi day at the house of Jagadish and Hiranya. Regular Prasadam is offered to Lord Vishnu on Ekadashi because although fasting is recommended for devotees on Ekadashi, it is not recommended for Lord Vishnu. Once on Ekadashi in the house of Jagadish and Hiranya Pandit, there were arrangements for preparing special prasadam for Lord Vishnu. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked his father to go there and ask for the Vishnu Prasadam because he was feeling sick. The house of Jagadish and Hiranya Pandit was situated about 2 miles from the house of Jagannath Mishra. Therefore, when Jagannath Mishra, on the request of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came to ask Jagadish and Hiranya for the prasadam, they were a little astonished. How could the boy understand that special prasadam was being prepared for Lord Vishnu? They immediately concluded that Nimai must have supernatural mystic power. Otherwise, how could he understand that they were preparing special prasadam? Therefore, they immediately sent the food to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his father, Jagannath Mishra. Nimai was feeling sick, but immediately after eating the Vishnu prasadam, he was cured and also distributed the prasadam among his playmates. So I want to read this pastime because it's very beautiful. Perhaps you're not all reading the Chaitanya Bhagavat as we go along. So I want to supplement this today. So this is from the chapter 6 of the Adi Kand, part 1 of the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Everyone chanted the names of Hari to please the child. The house of Jagannath Mishra appeared just like the transcendental abode of Vaikuntha. One day, in spite of everyone chanting the names of Hari, the Lord did not stop crying. They all said to him, "Listen, dear Nimai, come and dance nicely while we chant the name of Hari." The Lord did not listen to them and continued to cry. So they asked him, "Dear child, why are you crying?" They all asked him, "What do you want? We will bring it for you. Don't cry." The Lord replied, "If you want to save my life, then go quickly to the house of the two Brahmanas. Jagadish and Hiranya are both great devotees, and I desire something from them. Today is Ekadashi, and they are both fasting, but they have prepared varieties of foodstuffs for Lord Vishnu. If I could eat their offering, I will be cured and able to walk." Hearing this impossible proposal, Mother Sachi lamented, "You are requesting something that is not sanctioned in the Vedas or in ordinary dealings." Everyone laughed upon hearing the child's demand, and they said, "All right, we'll give you this, but please stop crying." So as it's stated in Caitanya Caritamrta, this place was right across the other side of town, 2 kilometers away, a long way for Jagannath Mishra to walk. But he went. Those 2 Brahmanas were great Vaishnavas and the dearest friends of Jagannath Mishra. It's described that in their previous life they were Braj Gopis. Everyone connected with Mahaprabhu is a Nitya Siddhaparika. They all have their eternal identities. When those first-class Brahmanas heard the child's request, they became fully satisfied. The 2 Brahmans exclaimed, "This is an amazing demand. We have never heard of such an intelligent child. How did he know that today is Ekadashi? How did he know that we've prepared all kinds of foodstuffs for the Lord?" Because it's going to be described quite soon in the Caitanya Caritamrta that Ekadashi wasn't popularly, it wasn't followed by everybody. The smarters didn't follow Ekadashi. It was only a few Vaishnavas that would observe Ekadashi. And it was only those Vaishnavas that were not in family life. It's described later on, next chapter, that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is saying that if in Grihastha life previously, they wouldn't follow Ekadashi. This is why Mahaprabhu specifically requests his mother directly to follow Ekadashi. This is coming in the next chapter. So most people didn't know it was Ekadashi, but Mahaprabhu did. We can understand that this child is so attractive, Gopal must have manifested in his body. Lord Narayan performs pastimes through the body of the child, sitting in his heart. Narayan makes the child speak. Thinking like this, the 2 Brahmins brought the various offerings and happily gave them to Nimai. The 2 Brahmanas then said, "Dear child, please eat these foodstuffs. Our desire to serve Krishna is fulfilled today." When one is blessed by Krishna, he receives the intelligence to engage in devotional service. Unless one is a servant of the Lord, he cannot have intelligence. Being a servant of the Lord means you're under guidance of our Guru Varga. That's what it means to be a servant of the Lord. Unless you're under clear, authentic guidance, then what will your devotional service be of? What sort of service will you be doing? It won't be on track. It'll be speculative. It must be, according to Srila Rupa Goswami, our line. Our line is very definitive. Without performing devotional service, no one can understand Lord Chaitanya, from whose hairpores innumerable universes emanate. So Vrindavan Das Thakur is describing the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's not describing the Lord in a Madhurya mood, is he? He's saying here directly that without performing devotional service, no one can understand Lord Chaitanya, from whose hairpores innumerable universes emanate. This means he's seeing the Lord as that Supreme Mahavishnu, from all the universes are manifesting. That same Lord, in the form of a young Brahmin child, performed pastimes that his eternal servants saw to the full satisfaction of their eyes. He's not saying it's like Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar. This is Vrindavan Das Thakur. There's a different mood between Vrindavan Das Thakur and Srila Krishna's Kaviraj. Vrindavan Das Thakur was the last disciple of Nityananda Prabhu. Krishna's Kaviraj is completely under the guidance of Raghunath Das. He's hearing all these pastimes directly from Raghunath Das and Rupa and Sanatan. Sitting in Radha Kund, he's hearing only about Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar. The Lord was fully satisfied to receive that prasad, and he ate a little of each item. The Lord joyfully ate the foodstuffs that had been offered by his devotees. Thus, by his own will, his intense craving was appeased. Everyone present happily chanted the name of Hari as the Lord ate and danced to the chanting of the holy names. Some of the prasad fell on the floor, and some of the prasad fell on the people present there. In this way, Tridas Rai performed his pastimes. There's an interesting purport by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati about the word Tridas Rai. So Tridas Rai, the Lord of Tridas, refers to one, he who destroys the living entity's threefold miseries, those inflicted by the body and mind, those inflicted by other living entities, and those inflicted by natural disturbances, Adhyatmic, Adibhautik, Adidaivik. 2. The Lord of those who are under the influence of birth, existence, or death, and childhood, youth, or old age, in other words, a conditioned soul. And 3. The Lord of 33 demigods, the 12 Adityas, the 11 Rudras, the 8 Vasus, and the 2 Vishvadevas. He is Gaura Vishnu, the Lord of all lords. So it's a description of his opulence again. That same Lord who is glorified in the Vedas and Puranas thus played in the courtyard of Mother Sachi. Lord Vishrambar drowned in the mood of a restless child as he sported with other restless Brahmin boys. So that's the story of Hiranya and Jagadish Pandit, these two personalities who Mahaprabhu begged for the grain preparations on the Ekadashi day. Text 40. Shishu sabaloi pada padeshira gare, churi kare dervya kaye mare balakare. As usual for small children, he learned to play, and with his playmates he went to the houses of neighboring friends, stealing their edibles and eating them. Sometimes the children fought among themselves. Text 41. Shishu shaba sachi stane koile nivedan, suni sachi putra kichu dila olahan. All the children lodged complaints with Sachimata about the Lord's fighting with them and stealing from the neighbors' houses. Therefore, sometimes she used to chastise or rebuke her son. Text 42, exactly like Mother Yashoda. Text 42. Kene churi kara kena maha maraha shishtur kena para gare yaha kibu nahi gara gare. Translation. Sachimata said, "Why do you steal others' things? Why do you beat the other children? And why do you go inside others' houses? What do you not have in your own house?" Purport. According to the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Asya Yata, since creation, maintenance, and annihilation exist in the Supreme Absolute, whatever we find within this material world is already in the spiritual world. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. How is he stealing and how is he fighting? It is not as a thief
or an enemy, but as a friend in a loving condition. He steals as a child, not because he is in want, but out of a natural instinct. In this material world also, small children, without enmity or bad will, sometimes go to a neighboring house and steal, and sometimes they fight. Krishna also, like other children, did all these things in his childhood. We have to understand Krishna's coming as a complete child, just like he appears in Braj. He's a total little baby, fully. He fully takes that form. Mugdada and Sarvagyan. He's all-knowing and he doesn't know anything. He completely sees himself as and all the restless things that children do, he performed also. But Krishna has another purpose. When he's stealing, he's giving mercy to the people. That's the huge difference. Because they, like the mothers making the milk products, actually want to do it for Krishna. They all are so much in love with him. So Krishna will come, and if they're not giving it to him, he'll steal it. And that will ultimately make them very happy in their hearts. Ultimately, they wanted to have Krishna as their child. And through Lord Brahma's arrangement, that happened also. Krishna also, like other children, did all these things in his childhood. Without the existence of the stealing propensity and fighting propensity in the spiritual world, they cannot exist here in this material world, so that fighting and stealing is there in Goloka Vrindavan. The difference between the material and spiritual worlds is that stealing in the spiritual world is done in friendship and love, whereas fighting and stealing within this material world are executed on the basis of enmity and envy. Therefore, we should understand that in the spiritual world, all these activities exist, but there is no inebriety, whereas in the material world, all activities are full of miserable conditions. Text 43.
Suni krudahana prabhu kare vitarayana gareyata banda chile pelila bangia.
Translation. Thus, rebuked by his mother, the Lord would go in anger to a room and break all the pots within it. Text 41.
Tabe sachikole kare karila santosha lajita hoile prabhu jani nija dosha.
Then Sachimata would take her son on her lap and pacify him, and the Lord would be very much ashamed, admitting his faults. Actually, there are pastimes in Chaitanya Bhagavat of the Lord becoming so angry, and this highlighting the absolute tolerance of Mother Sachi, more tolerance than Mother Yashoda demonstrated in her life. Krishna would do all sorts of things that a mother normally would become disturbed by, but Mother Sachi never became disturbed. But Mahaprabhu did things even more wild. There was a time when Mahaprabhu, he wanted his mother to give him a garland and some oil to worship Ganga Devi. And she didn't immediately have it. She said, wait a moment, I'll just go to the market and get a garland. Mahaprabhu went into a furious rage. He went into the house and he smashed everything conceivable that was able to be smashed. The shelves, the bags of foodstuffs that were kept hanging, the herbs, everything. He broke the doors, he broke everything in the house completely. And then he came out and he picked up a stick and he started beating the tree. And then he started to beat the earth with his hands, lay on the ground, beating such a high anger demonstration. And Mother Sachi was just sitting in fear as all this was crashing around her. And then he passed out after he tried to beat the earth. And then she very quickly goes to the market, get a garland and some oil, and put some water on his face to wash him. And when he comes back to consciousness, she quietly gives him the garland and the oil. She doesn't say anything, and he goes to the Ganga to worship Mother Ganga. But then when he comes back, but this is demonstrating, because I used to be confused about this pastime, but I can see now that this is demonstrating the height of Mother Sachi's tolerance to her son. Her son, her affection for her son is beyond anything in this world. Because she's the embodiment of Yashodama. She's the embodiment of Dara, all the different personalities who have had the Lord as their sons. Aditya, also, the embodiment of all of these mothers. She's the height. and she's showing this absolute intolerance. But when he comes back, she's already cleaned the house. She calls some neighbors in very quickly, gets everything, because she knows he'll want his meal when he comes back from the Ganga. So she's actually made some rice, she's made some sabji, and she's sitting him down to offer him a meal, as if nothing has happened, more or less. But then she says to him, you know, this will cost a lot of money, what you're doing. You're smashing everything, and we have no paisa to actually pay for all this. And Mahaprabhu says, don't worry. He goes outside, he comes back with some gold coins. He says, you just take these to one jeweler's and get some money back for them. Mother Sachi, she's afraid, because she's having to carry this gold to different places to get the proper price for it, because she wants to make sure she gets the proper... In Bengal, everyone cheats. So all the merchants are cheating. So she has to go to a number of merchants to see what is going to get the best exchange. And then she makes that, and then she doesn't question Nimai, where he got it from. But this happens a couple or three times. This is after Jagannath Mishra has left this world. So Mahaprabhu's pastimes are achintya, they're beyond the conceivable senses of the conditioned soul. We should understand that, because we're hearing about pastimes that seem to be just like ordinary children, but we should know at baseline that they're not, just like the pastimes between Krishna and the gopis. We think like teenage young girls and boys enjoying together. And if we get in that misconception, we will miss the whole point and purpose and beauty of these pastimes. So the same with Mahaprabhu's childhood pastimes. They're not on the material level. We should understand the glory of this personality and see the amazing way he's doing this. So thus rebuked by his mother, the Lord would go in anger to a room and break all the pots within it.
Tabe sachi kole kari koila santosh, lachita hoile prabhu jani nija dosh.
Then Sachimata would take her son on her lap and pacify him, and the Lord would be very much ashamed, admitting his faults. There is a nice description of the faults of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his childhood in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi-kan chapter 3, where it is said that as a child, the Lord used to steal all kinds of edibles from the houses of neighboring friends. In some houses he would steal milk and drink it, and in others he would steal and eat prepared rice. Sometimes he would break cooking pots. If there was nothing to eat, but there were small babies, the Lord would tease the babies and make them cry. It's described in Krishna Lila. Gopal would pinch the babies to make them cry. The Lord would tease the babies and make them cry. Sometimes a neighbor would complain to Sachimata, my child is very small, but your child puts water in his ears and makes him cry. So if we're thinking materially, we're going to be confused by this. But if we're understanding, Mahaprabhu is doing something very remarkable. In every single case, Mahaprabhu is giving mercy. In every single case. Mahaprabhu is described as that Audarya. He's carrying that Audarya Shakti, that mood of the highest extremity of compassion for the living entity. Once the child,
Kabu murdha haste koile matake tandana, matake murchita teki koria krandana.
Once the child, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, chastised his mother with his soft hand, and his mother pretended to faint. Seeing this, the Lord began to cry. Text 46.
Narigana kahe tara kela teha ani, tabe shusta ka ha ibena tomara janani.
Translation: the neighboring ladies told him, dear child, please bring a coconut from somewhere, and then your mother will be cured.
Bahirayane anilena due narikela, dekia upurva kaile vishmita sakala.
He then went outside the house and immediately brought 2 coconuts. All the ladies were astonished to see such wonderful activities. Text 48.
Kabu shishu sange stana karile gangate, kanya gana aile tahan devata pujita.
Translation: sometimes the Lord would go with other children to bathe in the Ganges, and the neighboring girls would also come there to worship various demigods. Purport: according to the Vedic system, When small girls 10 or 12 years old would go to the bank of the Ganges to take their bath, they would especially worship Lord Shiva with prayers and get good husbands in the future. They especially wanted to get a husband like Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva is very peaceful and at the same time most powerful. Formerly, therefore, small girls in Hindu families would worship Lord Shiva, especially in the month of Vaishakha, April and May. To take a bath in the Ganges is a great pleasure for everyone, not only for adults but for children also. Text 49. Ganga snane kori puja korite lagila, Kanyagana madhya prabhu ashiya bashila. Translation. When the girls engaged in worshipping the different demigods after bathing in the Ganges, the young lord would come there and sit down among them. Text 50. Kanyare kahi ama puja ami divyavara, Ganga Durga tasimore mahesh kinkara. Translation. Addressing the girls, the Lord would say, "Worship me, and I shall give you good husbands or good benedictions. The Ganges and Goddess Durga are my maidservants. What to speak of other demigods, even Lord Shiva is my servant." Report. There is a misconception about the Hindu religion among people who profess other religions, such as Christians and Muslims, who say that in the Hindu religion there are many gods. Actually, that is not a fact. God is one, but there are many other powerful living entities who are in charge of different departments of administration. They are called demigods. All the demigods are servants who carry out the orders of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu disclosed this fact in his childhood. Out of ignorance, sometimes people worship the demigods to receive some particular boon, but actually, one who becomes a devotee and worshipper of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to go to the demigods for any benediction, because he obtains everything by the grace of the Supreme Lord. The Bhagavad Gita 7:20-28 therefore condemns such demigod worship. Karmastatai hrita gyan prapadyante nya devata tam tam namam ashtaya prakritya nyata svaya. Only persons whose intelligence is lost and who are mad with lusty desires worship the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Yesham tvantagata papam jnanam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajate mam drita vrata. But persons who are freed from all sinful activities and the duality of delusion engage themselves in the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with determination, drita vrata. Only the less intelligent worship the demigods for their various purposes. The most intelligent worship only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Sometimes we, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement, are accused of not approving of the worship of demigods. But how can we approve of this when it is condemned by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna? How can we allow people to become foolish and hrita gyan, bereft of intelligence? Our propaganda is simply meant to enable intelligent people to understand the distinction between matter and spirit, and understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the whole spiritual identity. That is our mission. How could we mislead people into worshipping so-called gods in material bodies within this material world? Our position of not allowing worship of the many hundreds of demigods was confirmed by Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, even in his childhood. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in this connection, Anye Deva Shraya Nahi Tamara Kyaino Bai, E Bhakti Parama Karana. To become a staunch, pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without deviation, Ananya Bhak, one should not divert his attention to the worship of the demigods. Such control is a symptom of pure devotional service. So there are many attractive demigods, Suryadev, Hanumanji, Sunny Dev, so many personalities there in Hindu culture that are available for the sadhak to honor and worship. As devotees of Krishna, we should always respect these personalities, understanding them to be parts of the Supreme Lord's administration. Suryadev performs his perpetual orbit. Day and night, he's performing his orbit. We can offer prayers like from Brahma Samhita. Yakchakshu Esha Savita Sakala Grahanam Rajas Samasta Suramurtiya Shesha Teja Yas Yagyamat Samat Sambrita Kala Chakra Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. We're worshipping, honoring Suryadev because he's a servant of Sri Govinda. This is why we are honoring him. So the devotees are always aware of the speciality of the devas, and we honor them in all respects, at all times. Shivji especially, we always honor them. But he's Yatashambhu, he's Vaishnavam Yatashambhu, he's the greatest of Vaishnavas. This is how we worship Shivji, as being the greatest of Vaishnavas. So all these personalities we can honor, but it's not where substituting them for the Supreme Lord, not asking for a single benediction from them. What sort of benediction would you want from a material demigod? You would want something material. If you're asking for favor of any deva, it must be a material favor you're asking for. So what's that value for the spiritual aspirant? No value. But we can respect them. Daily we can respect them, no problem. But we're not asking them for anything. Text 51.
Apani chandana pari parena pulas mala naivedya kadiya karna sandesha chalakala.
Translation. Without the permission of the girls, the Lord would take the sandalwood pulp and smear it on his own body, put the flower garland on his neck, and snatch and eat all the offerings of sweetmeats, rice, and bananas. Purport. According to the system of worship, when something is offered to the deities outside one's home, it is generally not cooked food, but raw rice, bananas, and sweetmeats. Out of his causeless mercy, the Lord would snatch the offerings from the girls and eat them, admonishing the girls not to worship the demigods, but to worship him. The worship of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna Varnam Tvisa Krishnam Sangopangastra Parsadam Yagya Sankirtanam Priya Yajanti Hishu Medishaha. One should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears in this age of Kali with his associates as the Panchatattva, the Lord himself and his associates, Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Advaita Prabhu, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu and Srivas Thakur. In this age, an intelligent person worships the Panchatattva by the method of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and if possible, distributing prasadam. Our Krishna consciousness movement is introducing this bona fide method of worship in the Western world. Its members are going from village to village and town to town with deities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, teaching people how to worship the Lord by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, offering prasadam, and distributing prasadam to people in general. So in other words, trying to reclaim their focus exclusively to honor the Supreme Lord and not the demigods or devas. This is not our job, is to support. We don't support a Durga festival. We don't support a festival just in honor of Maheshji, Shivji. We don't support those. We don't go to those. It's not our business to support that. We are exclusively devoted to Brajendra Nandan Shyam Sundar. If we want this goal, my Gurudev would always be very particular when he would visit different houses. If he'd see in the houses so many other demigods, which you see in Hindu families and so on, he would always encourage them to take those demigods off the altar. You can just have Panchatattva, you can have Radha and Krishna, you can have Lord Nrsingadev, you can have Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and that's it. You don't need Durgama, you don't need all the other personalities there. Even Shivji you don't need. If Shivji is there, he can be in another altar, not on the same altar. So we have to be very particular about this, because the demigods sometimes can give immediate type of results, but they're always material. They're not spiritual. What do we want? Do we want something for this material body? Or do we want the spiritual highest truth? Text 52.
Krode kanya gana kaye sunana nimani grama sambande hoitomi amasa barabai.
Translation: all the girls became very angry at the Lord for his behavior. Dear Nimai, they told him, you are just like our brother in our village relationship.
Ami sabakara pakshe iha karite na yuyaya na lahya devata saja nakara anyaya.
Therefore it does not behoove you to act like this. Don't take our paraphernalia for worship of the demigods. Don't create a disturbance in this way. Text 54.
Prabhu kahe toma sabaka dila evara toma sabara bharata habe parama sundara.
The Lord replied, my dear sisters, I give you the benediction that your husbands will be very handsome. Text 55.
Pandita vitagda yuva dana danyavan sata sata putra habe choriya matiman.
They will be learned, clever, and young, and possess abundant wealth and rice. Not only that, but you will each have 7 sons, who will all live long lives and be very intelligent. Purport. Generally, it is the ambition of a young girl to have a very handsome husband, who is learned, clever, rich, young and rich. According to the Vedic culture, one is rich if he possesses a large stock of food grain and a very large number of animals. Danyena Danavan, Gavaya Danavan. One is rich if he possesses food grain, cows and bulls. A girl also desires to have many children, especially sons, putra, who are very intelligent and long-lived. Now, because society has deteriorated, there is propaganda to have 1 or 2 children and kill the rest by contraceptive methods, or even worse. But the natural ambition of a girl is to possess not only more than 1 child, but at least half a dozen. In exchange for the paraphernalia of worship he usurped for himself, Caitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to bless the girls to fulfill all their ambitions and desires. One can easily become happy and obtain the material benefits of a good husband, wealth, food grain, and a number of nice children by worshipping Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Although Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas at an early age, it is not necessary for his devotees to follow him by taking sannyas. One can stay a householder, but one must be a devotee of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Then one will be happy with all the material opulences of a good home, good children, good mate, good wealth, and everything he desires. Therefore the Shastras advise, Yagnai Sankirtana Priya Yajanti Hi Sumedishaha. This is from Bhagavatam 11.5.32. We've just said that verse. Every householder, therefore, who is actually intelligent should introduce the Sankirtan movement home to home and live peacefully in his life and go back to Godhead in the next. Text 56. Going back to Godhead in the next. Anyway, we'll discuss that another time. Text 50, to go back to Godhead means you understand all the intricacies of Goloka Vrindavan. You've studied Rasa Tattva Shastras. You actually have developed a full-hearted desire to go to that realm. Therefore, you are meditating on that realm constantly. It's not that some miracle will happen and all of a sudden you'll leave your body and go back home, back to Godhead. Many, many, many think like this. And they think actually in a mood of liberation. They think when I leave my body, I'll just be like liberated from the material sufferings and so on. If you want to go back to Godhead, you have to know what that means, going back. You have to know the land of Vrindavan. You have to know the land of Goradhan. You have to understand the relationships there. You have to understand the aspects of Rasa Tattva. You have to understand how to worship the Lord. That has to have risen fully in your heart. Generally, people, if they become very advanced spiritually, they take birth as a gopi in Boma Vrindavan, and then they associate with the Siddha gopis the Nityasiddhas, and then by that association they become qualified to actually go to Goloka Vrindavan after that. It's a series of births. But Prabhupada is the most encouraging personality to his very fledgling new disciples. Prabhupada is writing this in about 1974. That means he's been preaching in the Western world for about 5 or 6 years. What's the condition of their consciousness, of these people? Do they know anything at all? They carry their shoes in their rucksack when they go into temples and so on, without putting them outside. I mean, so many things like we didn't know. The Westerners were completely, totally ignorant on every level. But it's a great advantage in the sense that we didn't know all about demigod worship. It's like the Indian family devotees, they're so caught up with their tradition from childhood of worshipping the devas, and they're convinced that actually I should do that and to actually separate from that. But the Western devotees, we never had that. So we bypassed that hurdle. So different things, but always we've got the advantage of coming to Krishna, regardless. Text 56.
Varasune kanya ganera antare santosh bahire bharatsana vare kari nitya rosh.
Hearing this benediction from Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, all the girls were inwardly very happy, but externally, as is natural for girls, they rebuked the Lord under the pretense of anger. Purport. The double dealing is natural for girls. When they are satisfied within, they externally show dissatisfaction, just like Sri Radhika. She suddenly meets Krishna, and the first thing she wants to do is go home. She's so happy to meet him, but at the same time, she performs the pastime of wanting to go home. This makes Krishna very greedy to make her stay. So there's beautiful pastimes like this. Such feminine dealings are very palatable to boys who try to make friendships with them. So Krishna and Mahaprabhu are like that. Text 57.
Kona kanya pailila naiveda la iya tarataka kaye prabhu sokroda haya.
When some of the girls fled, the Lord called them in anger and advised them as follows.
Yadi naivadhyana deha haya kripani Buddha bharta habe ara charya charistani.
If you are miserly and do not give me the offerings, every one of you will have an old husband with at least 4 co-wives. Purport. In India in those days, and even until 50 years ago, polygamy was freely allowed. Any man, especially of the higher caste, the Brahmanas, the Vaishyas, and particularly the Kshatriyas, could marry more than one wife. In the Mahabharata, or in the old history of India, we see that Kshatriya kings especially used to marry many wives. We see Krishna had 16,000 wives. According to Vedic civilization, there was no restriction against this, and even a man more than 50 years old could marry. But to be married to a man who had many wives was not a very pleasing situation, because the husband's love would be divided among his many wives. To punish the girls unwilling to offer him the Nevedya, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu apparently wanted to curse them to be married to men who had at least 4 wives. The social structure allowing a man to marry more than one wife can be supported in this way. Generally, in every society, the female population is greater in number than the male population. Therefore, if it is a principle in the society that all girls should be married, unless polygamy is allowed, it will not be possible. If all the girls are not married, there is a good chance of adultery, and in a society in which adultery is allowed cannot be very peaceful or pure. In our Krishna consciousness society, we have restricted sex life. The practical difficulty is to find a husband for each and every girl. We are therefore in favor of polygamy, provided, of course, that the husband is able to maintain more than one wife. Most of the times the husbands can't maintain one wife, what to speak of more. But anyway, Prabhupada is making this point. Most of these points are giving us a window in the historic situation of Mahaprabhu's time. It doesn't mean that we have to follow those injunctions. Actually, today it's impossible to follow them. that would not be, that would be opposed to the law of the government of the land. But Prabhupada is giving us a window into how it was in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. Text 59.
Iha sune tasabara mane hoile bai, kaunai kichu jane kibu devishta hoai.
Having this supposed curse by Lord Chaitanya, the girls, considering that he might know something uncommon or be empowered by demigods, were afraid of his curse. Were afraid that his curse might be effective. Text 60.
Aniya naivedyatara sanmuke darila, kaya naivedyatare ishta vareya dila.
Translation. The girls then brought the offerings before the Lord, who ate them all and blessed the girls to their satisfaction. Text 61.
Emata chapalya saba lokera dakaya, dukya tara mane nahe sape sukapaya.
Translation. When this cunning behavior of the Lord with the girls became known to the people in general, it did not create misunderstandings among them. Rather, they enjoyed happiness in these dealings. Krishna's Kaviraj is writing this from the lips of Raghunath Das. They didn't all become disturbed. They were broad-minded and understood children are playing like this. And this person is a very exceptional person. They all are understanding that he's an exceptional child. They're not saying that he's God, but they're all understanding that he's an exceptional child. Just like Krishna in Vrindavan was everyone loved Krishna, and Krishna would do so many naughty things, but everyone would smile and accept it. And similarly here in Navadvip. Text 62.
Ekadina Valabacharya Kanya Lakshmi Nama Devata Pujite Oile Koriya Ganga Snana.
One day, a girl of the name Lakshmi, the daughter of Balaba Acharya, came to the bank of the Ganges to take a bath in the river and worship the demigods. Purport. According to the Gauriganesh Dipika 45, Lakshmi was formerly Janaki, the wife of Lord Ramchandra, and Rukmini, the wife of Lord Krishna in Dwarka. The same goddess of fortune descended as Lakshmi to become the wife of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is his. Lakshmi is the Nila potency of the Lord, the wealth, Lakshmi. Text 63.
Tanra deki prabhura hoila sabilasa mana Lakshmi chite prita hoile prabhura darshana.
Translation. Seeing Lakshmi Dev, the Lord became attached to her, and Lakshmi, upon seeing the Lord, felt great satisfaction within her mind. Text 64.
Sahajika pritidunhara karila udaya balya bhava chana tabu haila nischaya.
Their natural love for each other awakened, and although it was covered by childhood emotions, it became apparent that they were mutually attracted. Purport. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lakshmi Devi are eternal husband and wife. Therefore, it is quite natural that their dormant love to awaken when they saw each other. Their natural feelings were immediately awakened by their meeting. Text 65.
Duna deki dunhara chite hoila ulas deva puja chale kaile dunha parakash.
Translation. They both enjoyed natural pleasure in seeing each other, and under the pretext of demigod worship, they manifested their feelings. Text 66.
Prabhu kahe ama puja ami maheshwara amara pujile Prabhu abhisita vara.
Translation. The Lord told Lakshmi, just worship me, for I am the Supreme Lord. If you worship me, certainly you will get the benediction you desire. Purport. This is the same philosophy declared by Lord Krishna himself. Sarvadharmam parityaja mam ekam saranam braja. Aham tam sarve papabhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. 1866. People do not understand this. They are accustomed to flattering or worshipping many demigods, human beings, or even cats and dogs. But when requested to worship the Supreme Lord, they refuse. This is called illusion. Factually, if one worships the Supreme Lord, there is no need to worship anyone else. For example, in a village of a limited area, one may use different wells for different purposes. But when one goes to a river where the water is consistently flowing in waves, that water can serve all his purposes. When there is a river, one can take drinking water, wash his clothes, bathe, and so on. For that water will serve all purposes. Similarly, if one worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, all his goals will be achieved. Karamastatai Krita Gyan Prabhadyante Nyat Devata. Only men who have lost their intelligence worship the various demigods to fulfill their desires. Bhagavad Gita 7:20. Text 67.
Lakshmitanra Adi-lila Pushpa Chandana Malikare Maladia Korila Vandana.
Translation. On hearing the order of the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lakshmi immediately worshipped him, offering sandalwood pulp and flowers for his body, garlanding him with malika flowers, and offering prayers. Text 68.
Prabhu Tanra Puja Pana Hasita Lagila Shokapati Tanra Baba Angikara Kaila.
Translation. Being worshipped by Lakshmi, the Lord began to smile. He recited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam and thus accepted the emotion she expressed. Purport. The verse quoted in this connection is the 25th verse of the 22nd chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The gopis worshipped goddess Durga, or Katyayani, but their inner desire was to get Lord Krishna as their husband. Krishna, as Paramatma, could realize the ardent desire of the gopis, and therefore he enjoyed the pastime of Vastra Harana. This is stealing the gopis' clothes. When the gopis went to bathe in the river Jamuna, they left their garments on the land and dipped into the water completely naked. Taking this opportunity, Krishna stole all the garments and sat down on the top of a tree with them, desiring to see the gopis naked just to become their husband. The gopis desired to have Krishna as their husband, and since it is only before her husband that a woman can be naked to fulfill their desire, Lord Krishna accepted their prayers by this pastime of stealing their garments. When the gopis received their garments back from Krishna, Krishna recited this verse. Text 69.
Sankalpo vidita sadvya bhavatinam mad archanam mayanum odita su satyo bhavitum arhiti.
My dear gopis, I accept your desire to have me as your husband and thus worship me. I wish your desire to be fulfilled because it deserves to be so. Purport. The gopis, the girlfriends of Krishna, were almost the same age as he. Within their minds, they desired that Krishna be their husband, but because of feminine bashfulness, they could not express their desire. Therefore, later on, after stealing their garments, Krishna informed them, I immediately understood your desire and approved of it, because I have now stolen your garments. You have presented yourselves before me completely naked, which means that I have accepted you as my wives. Sometimes foolish rascals, not knowing the purpose of the Lord or the purpose of the gopis, unnecessarily criticize from their own angle of vision. But the real purpose of Vastra Harana is expressed by the Lord in this verse. So of course materialists who are envious will misinterpret this. Envious people will misinterpret all of Shastra because they want to be God themselves. They want to enjoy. Krishna wasn't of that mood. Krishna was actually wanting to facilitate and benedict those gopis by becoming their husband. It's not necessarily a pleasure to become someone's husband, but he's doing it as a service to those gopis for their absolute steadfast behavior in their vow. We used to see these little girls when I stayed in Durvasa Ashram across the river, Yamuna, a very lonely place, and maybe 10 or 15 girls would come every morning in the month of Marg, in January, February, very, very cold, the month of Caitanya in December. And they would come and make offerings to Radha and Krishna there, and then they would all go to the Jamuna to take their bath in the cold morning. Just freezing cold, little girls. They usually would have a big sister with them or something like that. But it was very inspiring to see their nishta and their determination to perform their vow. Hopefully they wanted a good husband. That's why they were doing it. So, let's see. Text 70. E mata lila kari dunhe gela gara, gambira Caitanya lila ke bujita para. Translation. After thus expressing their feelings to each other, Lord Caitanya and Lakshmi returned home. Who can understand the grave pastimes of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu? Text 71. Caitanya chapalyate ki prema sarvajana, sachi jagannath deki dena alo alahana. When the neighboring people saw the naughty behavior of Lord Caitanya, out of love for him, they lodged complaints with Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra. Text 72. Ekadina Sachideve putrera bharatsya, dari bare gela putra gela paliya. Translation. One day, Mother Sachi went to catch her son, wanting to rebuke him, but he fled from the spot. Text 73. Uchista garte takya handira upara basiyachena tsuke prabhu deva vishvambara. Translation. Although he is the maintainer of the entire universe, the Lord sat upon some rejected pots in a pit where the remnants of food were thrown, after the pots had been used for cooking. Purport. Formerly, it was the custom of Brahmanas to worship Lord Vishnu daily at home and cook food in new pots. This system is still going on in Jagannath Puri. The food will be cooked in earthen pots, all fresh and new, and after cooking, the pots would be thrown away. By the side of the house, there was generally a big pit where such pots were thrown. Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu sat down on the pots very pleasingly, just to give his mother a lesson. Text 74. Sachi ashikahe kena asuchi chunila, ganga snane kareyai apivitra hila. When Mother Sachi saw her boy sitting on the rejected pots, she protested, "Why have you touched these untouchable pots? You have now become impure. Go and bathe in the Ganges." Text 75. Ihasune mata ke kila brahma gyan, vishmita ha iya mata karela snan. Translation. Hearing this, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu taught his mother about absolute knowledge. Although amazed by this, his mother forced him to take a bath. Report. The absolute knowledge explained by the Lord to his mother is described by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Prabha Bhasya as follows. The Lord said, "Mother, that this is pure and that is impure is surely a worldly sentiment with no basis in fact. You have cooked food for Lord Vishnu within these pots and offered the food to him. How then can these pots be untouchable? Everything in relationship with Vishnu is to be considered an expansion of Vishnu's energy. Vishnu, the Supersoul, is eternal and uncontaminated. How then may these pots be considered pure or impure?" Hearing this discourse on absolute knowledge, his mother was very much astonished and forced him to take a bath. Text 76. Mahaprabhu wants his mother to act in a motherly fashion, so he'll arrange all kinds of acts for her motherly propensity, her Vatsalya Prem, to shine, to show the example of the height of her Vatsalya Prem. Text 76. Kabe putra sangha sachi korila sayana, deka divya loka asi borila bhavana. Translation. Sometimes taking her son with her, Mother Sachi would lie down on her bed and would then see that denizens of the celestial world had come there, filling the entire house. Text 77. Sachi bole yaha putra balo balha bapere, matra agyan paye prabhu choila bihare. Translation: Once Mother Sachi told the Lord, "Please go and call your father." Receiving this order from his mother, the Lord went out to call him.
Chalite charane nipur baje jani jan, sune chamit kita hoile pita mataraman.
When the child was going out, there was a tinkling of ankle bells from his lotus feet. Hearing this, his father and mother were struck with wonder.
Mishra kahe ebada adbhuta kahini, Sishura sunniya pade kena nupura divani.
Jagannath Mishra said, This is a very wonderful incident. Why is there a sound of ankle bells from the bare feet of my child? Text 80.
Sachekahe ara eka adbhuta dakila, divya divya loka ashe angana barila.
Mother Sachi said, I also saw another wonder. People were coming down from the celestial kingdom and crowding the entire courtyard. Text 81.
Kiba kola hala kare bujite na pari, kaheke vas tuti kare anmanu una anumana kari.
Translation: They made noisy sounds I could not understand. I guess they were offering prayers to someone. Text 82.
Mishra bole kicho huak chinta kichu nai, Vishrambara kushala hayuk e matra chai.
Jagannath Mishra replied, Never mind what it is. There is no need to worry. Let there always be good fortune for Vishrambar. This is all I want. Text 83.
Ekatina Mishra putrer chapelya tekia, Dharma shiksha dila bahu barsana kariya.
On another occasion, Jagannath Mishra, seeing the mischievous acts of his son, gave him lessons in morality after rebuking him greatly. Text 84.
Ratra swapna deka eka ashi brahmana, Mishra karhe kicho sa rosha vachana.
On that very night, Jagannath Mishra dreamt that a Brahmana had come before him speaking these words in great anger. Text 85.
Mishra tumi putrera tatva kichure najana, Bhartsana tadana kare putra kari mana.
My dear Mishra, you do not know anything about your son. You think him your son, and therefore you rebuke and chastise him. Text 86.
Mishra kai deva shida muni kena nai, Ye se bada huok matra amara tanai.
Jagannath Mishra replied, This boy may be a demigod, a mystic yogi, or a great saintly person. It doesn't matter what he is, for I think he is only my son. This is exactly as Nanda Baba said to any question about Krishna. Text 87.
Putrer lalana shiksha pitara swadharma, Amina sakale dharma.
It is the duty of a father to educate his son in both religion and morality. If I do not give him this education, how will he know of it? Text 88.
Vipra kai putra yadi daiva siddha hoy, Swatra siddhi jnana tabe shiksha vyata hoy.
Translation: The Brahmana replied, If your son is a transcendental mystic boy with self-effulgent perfect knowledge, what is the use of your education? Purport: The Brahmana Jagannath Mishra saw in his dream, told him that his son was not an ordinary human being. If he were a transcendental person, he would have self-effulgent knowledge, and thus he would have no need to educate him. Text 89.
Mishra kai putra kena nahe narayan, Tatapi pitara dharma putrena shikshana.
Jagannath Mishra replied, Even if my son is not a common man but Narayan, still it is the duty of a father to instruct his son. Text 90.
E mata dunhe karane dharmera vichara, Vishuddha vatsalya Mishra nahi jana ara.
Translation: In this way, Jagannath Mishra and the Brahmin discussed the principles of religion in the dream, yet Jagannath Mishra was absorbed in unalloyed parental mellow and did not want to know anything else. Purport. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.45, it is said, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped with exalted hymns by all the Vedas and Upanishads and by great personalities through Sankhya Yoga in the mode of goodness, was considered by Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba to be their own little son. Similarly, Jagannath Mishra was also considered Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his beloved little boy, although he is worshipped with all veneration by learned brahmanas and saintly persons. Text 91.
Etai sune dvijagela hana andita, Mishra jagya haile parama vishmita.
Translation. Being very pleased, the brahmana left after talking with Jagannath Mishra. And when Jagannath Mishra awakened from his dream, he was very much astonished. Text 92.
Bandhu bandhava stane swapna kahila, suniya sakala loka mishmita hoila.
He related the dream to his friends and relatives, and every one of them was very much astonished to hear it. Text 93.
E mata shishu lila korile kor chandra, dine dine pita matara badiya ananda.
In this way, Gaurahari performed his childhood pastimes, and day after day increased the pleasure of his parents. Text 94.
Katta dine mishra putre hate kadi dila, alpa dine dvadasa phala akshara sakila.
Translation. After some days, Jagannath Mishra inaugurated the primary education of his son by performing the Hate Kadi ceremony. Within a few days, the Lord learned all the letters and combinations of letters. Purport. The 12 phal, or combinations of letters, are called Refa, Muhanya, cerebral, Na, Dantavya, dental, Na, Ma, Ya, Ra, La, Va, Ra, Ra, I, and I. Hate Kadi is the primary educational beginning. At the age of 4 or 5 years, on an auspicious day called Vidya Ramba, marking the beginning of primary education, there is a ceremony worshipping Lord Vishnu, and after that the teacher gives the child a long chalk pencil. Then, guiding the hand of the student, he instructs him how to write the letters of the alphabet, A, I, U, etc. by writing big letters on the floor. When the child is a little advanced in writing, he is given a slate for his primary education, which ends when he learns the 2-letter combinations, which are called phal, as mentioned above. Text 95.
Balya lila sutra ekaila anukram, iha vistaranchena dasha vrindavan.
Translation. This is a synopsis of the childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, placed herewith in chronological order. Vrindavan Das Thakur has already elaborately explained these pastimes in his book Chaitanya Bhagavat. Text 96.
Ataiva elila sankshepa sutra kaila, punarupti bhaya vistarya na kaila.
Translation. I have therefore made only a brief summary, being afraid of repetition. I have not elaborated upon this subject matter. Text 97.
Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Yare Asha, Caitanya Caritamrta Kahe Krishna Das.
Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, following in their footsteps. Sri Caitanya Caritamrta Ki Jai. So this is an ecstatic description of the Lord's childhood pastimes. Very ecstatic, heartwarming description of his pastimes. This is Lila Gatar. There is Lila and there is Tattva, Vichar. So this is, we are hearing the Leelas of Mahaprabhu. Very sweet. Sachinandan Gaurahari Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevcha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namo.